Our final project was on the short story, The Rockpile by James Baldwin.
About the author. James Baldwin was an American novelist, essayist, poet, playwright, and activist. He was born and raised in Harlem, New York in 1924. He is well known for his novel published in 1953, Go Tell It on the Mountain. This novel was praised for its insights on race, spirituality, and humanity. As a writer, he channeled his childhood experiences with his repressive stepfather and his religious conversion into his literary pieces. Baldwin made a huge decision to move to Paris on a fellowship. There, he was able to write more about his personal and racial background. In most of his fictional works, a common theme centers around Black family life.
Summary. The Rockpile is a short story set in Harlem, New York. The story focuses on two half-brothers, John and Roy, who by their mother are forbidden to go on the Big Rockpile. The Rockpile is known to be the spot where violence occurs and fights happen regularly. Roy breaks the rules and ventures off with his friends. Consequently, he gets injured and while on the Rockpile. Fearing his father will be extremely upset because he was disobedient, the father ends up blaming John, who is the stepson. It is clear Roy is the favorite son in Gabriel, the father's eyes. Gabriel blatantly disregards his wife's views, proving their relationship is toxic. The story represents the tension and aggression in not only Harlem, but also African American families.
Main characters. Roy is the son of Elizabeth and Gabriel, and he's not afraid of the rock pile. He disobeys his parents by playing on the rock pile. While doing this, he slashes his eyes open. He is Gabriel's favorite child. John is Elizabeth's son and Gabriel's stepson. He does not love him as much as Roy because he's not his direct blood son. He failed to notify his mother that Roy left to play on the rock pile. Gabriel is a strong father figure. He's a reverend and compassionate towards Roy. He does not show his wife and his stepson John the same love. Elizabeth is the mother of both Roy and John. She believes Gabriel is too harsh on John and tries to reason with him. However, she is scolded for not paying enough attention to the children.
The setting is set in the mid-1900s in Harlem, New York. The dangerous pile of rocks is located right across the street from where they live. They are able to see the rock pile from their fire escape. The significance of the setting is that it is the early 20th century. Harlem had one of the most concentrated areas of African Americans.
The major themes. The first is aggression and violence in Harlem. Additionally, a major theme is tension in family life and the role of the father figure. Also, good versus evil is displayed in this story, as well as the power of religion.
What makes the Rockpile American literature? The Rockpile takes place in the Depression era, a tragic time affecting majority of unskilled African Americans. It also highlights the conditions in Harlem and within the African American communities. It is also American because it is based off the author Baldwin's experiences as an African American living in America. It was published in the 1960s, while America was in the midst of the civil rights movement, a significant time in American history.
How does the rock pile reflect society? The rock pile reflects the hardship society was facing in the Great Depression era. Tempers flared more easily among African American males and even boys, as shown in this story. Violence during this time was much more common, especially for African Americans. A majority of African Americans were unemployed, and traditional African American jobs were given to whites. Discrimination and racism were relevant at this time. Lack of jobs, high rents, and overcrowding were all struggles society had faced.
What is the relationship between literature and place? This literary work was set in Harlem and addresses this violent time in history. The relationship represents the violence and aggression that occurs specifically at the rock pile. More danger is shown in this piece when African American boy drowns in the Harlem River.
Historical significance of the characters. John was loved and respected less by Gabriel because they were not directly related. This portrays toxic masculinity, but also familiar preference in the 1900s. Because John was not blood related to Gabriel, his choices in safety mattered less, which was an issue in American culture. This added to the struggles that African Americans were already facing during the time of the Jim Crow laws and other segregation difficulties. John signifies how African Americans were treated as minorities and faced segregation.
The significance of the rock pile in this piece. The physical rock pile itself signifies the struggles African Americans in Harlem faced. The rock pile was slippery. This represents children's struggles to maintain a stable foothold in life. Boys fight to stay at the top of the rock pile, signifying the social struggle they will face in the future amongst the privileged white people. The pattern of violence on the rock pile reflects their never-ending struggle to uphold value and dignity in society.
In conclusion, The Rock Pile by James Baldwin expresses the aggression in family relations in segregated parts of America. Toxic masculinity and direct or bloodline familial relations and preference were also displayed in this story. Thank you, and we hope you have a great summer.